press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hi everyone. So in the last session we discussed taxonomic categories. So in this session we are going to discuss taxonomical aids. So what are exactly taxonomical aids? Let us know in detail. So taxonomical aids are nothing but these are the procedures, techniques and stored information. So these are all used for, that are used for taxonomic studies. So what are taxonomical aids? Taxonomical aids are the procedures, the techniques, the stored information, okay, the storehouse of plants and animals along with its information. So and they are used for taxonomical studies. That means they are used for, so that stored information, those procedures, techniques and stored information along with the actual specimens of plants and animals, so that are used for the identification and classification of organisms. So that is what the taxonomical aids. So our taxonomical studies are important to mankind. Yes, of course the taxonomical studies are important. They are beneficial to mankind because we are getting multiple benefits from various organisms, from various plants, animals and even from microorganisms also we are getting a lot of benefits, right? So he is able to explore whatever the information that is gathered from the plants, animals and other organisms. So in the field of agriculture, so use that particular the information gathered about particular plants and animals used in the in the fields of agriculture, medicine, industry, okay, and forestry, fisheries and all. So we are getting like this, we are getting a lot of uses from the plants and animals. So as we are getting multiple benefits from these organisms, so there is a need for accurate and correct identification of plants and animals. So there is a need for accurate identification of plants and animals, and for what? Accurate identification of plants and animals is necessary, and that is along with identification, that is classification. So that is possible, that requires intense laboratory studies, okay, and it requires a field work. At the most, the first and the prime source for taxonomic studies is the collection and preservation of actual specimens of plants and animals. So if you are so as we are using various plants and animals for our use, the correct identification and classification of organisms is mandatory. So that requires a field work, that requires a intense laboratory work. But the prime source for all taxonomic studies is the collection and the preservation of actual specimens of plants and animals. So collection and preservation of actual specimens of plants and animals is the prime source for taxonomical studies. So you have to remember this point, okay. So for that purpose, the biologists have established certain procedures, certain techniques to store and preserve the information along with the specimens of plants and animals and other organisms. So the places where one can find the information regarding particular plants and animal species along with the specimens of plants, animals and other organisms, so that are that include herbarium where dead plant specimens are stored and preserved, museums, botanical gardens and zoological parks, commonly called zoos. Okay, so these are the places where one can get an information along with the specimens of plants and animals. So where as in botanical gardens and zoos, where in botanical gardens where the live plants are grown, and in the zoos the wild animals are kept in a protected environment. Okay, so all these are the places where one can get information, okay, and also the actual specimens of plants and animals. So let us see what are all these. We'll discuss one by one in detail regarding herbarium, museums, botanical gardens and zoos. Let us discuss in detail one by one. So first we will discuss herbarium. What exactly the herbarium? See, herbarium is the storehouse of, it is the storehouse of collected plant specimens. So it is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved or mounted on herbarium sheets. Okay. So what is herbarium here? It is a storehouse of collected plant specimens, not live plants. It is a collection of plant specimen. So the plants are collected, they are dried, they are pressed and they are mounted on the herbarium sheets. See, for example, so in herbarium, it is a place, actually it is a place which is having a huge collection of different types of plant specimens and those plant specimens are mounted on an herbarium sheet, and it also contains, that herbarium sheet also contains a detailed description of that particular plant specimen. Okay, so they provide, so this herbarium, they provide a quick source of reference for taxonomical studies. So one can get information regarding a particular plant easily from the herbarium. See, the very first thing, the first procedure in a herbarium is the collection of the the very first thing is the collection of a healthy plant material, So if it is a smaller plant, the like a herb, the plant along with roots are collected, and if it is a woody plant, the twigs along with the flowers are collected, and after collecting the plant material, so the plant material has to be dried completely. So drying is a very important procedure here because it avoids decaying of the plant. So once the plant material is collected, so it is pressed in a newspaper folds. So those moisture newspaper folds, no, so they are frequently they are changed, so to avoid the decaying of the plant. So once like that the plant material which is collected is dried by pressing in a newspaper folds. So once it is collected, the next procedure is drying. So after it is dried, it is mounted on a herbarium sheet. So if it is a herbarium sheet, so the plant material is collected and it is dried and it is mounted on a herbarium sheet. Okay. So here the standard size of an herbarium sheet is a 41 into 29 inches. So here 29 or 41. So this is the international size of an herbarium sheet. Okay. So the plant material is collected, it is dried and it is mounted. So either it is glued or it is stitched. So it is mounted. So if it is a plant, it is mounted on a an herbarium sheet. It's actually a thick sheet. We call it as a herbarium sheet. So the plant material is mounted on a herbarium sheet, and on the lower corner of the right hand side. So at the lower corner of the right hand side, so there is the complete description of that particular plant is written here. So this contains a complete description of the plant. So the information included here is the date of collection. That means the date that a particular plant is collected. So date of collection. After that, the place of collection. Place of collection. Date of collection. Then place of collection. That means the name of a place from which the plant material is collected, its date, its place and its local name. Local name of a plant is written, and English name, its English name, its local name, and after that a scientific name. Scientific name is written, and a family name to which that particular plant belongs to. So to which family that particular plant belongs to, so that you have to write. So date of collection, place of collection, its local name, its English name, its scientific name, family, and finally the collector name. Collector name. Okay. So all this information is written in the label that present, that is at the, I should be at the lower corner of the right hand side. Okay. So this is what the herbarium sheet for standard size is 29 into, that is 41 into 29 inches, and at the right hand side of the lower corner there is a label. It should contain information about the date of collection, place of collection, its local name, English name, scientific name, family name and collector name. So the label should contain all these information should be present in the right hand side of the lower corner. So this is what the herbarium. So like this, the herbarium sheets are so many plant species are the plant materials are different types of plants are collected from the local areas or from other areas. So they are first they are collected, they are dried and they are mounted on a herbarium sheet. So like this the herbarium sheets are prepared. So after mounting the plant specimens on the herbarium sheet, so its description of that particular plant specimen should be provided on the right hand side of the lower corner. Okay. So this is what the herbarium sheets. So like this the herbarium sheets are made, and these herbarium sheets, no, so they are arranged in a sequential order of universally accepted system of classification. So that is what the herbarium. So if this will form, herbarium will form a quick referral system. So they provide a quick source of reference for the students and researchers. If they open the herbarium sheet, so they can see a plant specimen along with its complete description of that particular plant specimen. Okay, so this is what the herbarium. So this is one of the taxonomical aid which helps in identification of plant specimen, and it provides the information about the particular plant species along with its description. Okay, so this is what herbarium. So the famous herbaria of the world include Royal Botanical Garden. So the famous herbaria include Royal Botanical Garden. It is located at Kew in England. And one more is Central National Herbarium. Present in it is located in Calcutta. Okay, so these two are the main famous herbaria of the world. So Royal Botanical Garden, which is located at Kew in England, and Central National Herbarium at Calcutta. Okay, so this is what the herbarium. So this is one of the taxonomical aid. And the next taxonomical aid is Botanical Gardens. Botanical gardens. So you know that in herbaria, dead plant specimens are collected, no? So they are collected, they are dried and pressed on and mounted on a herbarium sheet. But botanical gardens, so in botanical gardens, the collection of, so it's a live plants. Okay, so botanical gardens, in botanical gardens, the live plants are grown, the living plants are grow for reference. So botanical gardens are the specialized gardens are an enclosed area of land where the plants which are different types of plants which are collected from the different places, so they are grown in that particular enclosed area of land. We call it as a botanical garden. So each plant in a botanical garden, it is labeled. Okay, each plant in a botanical garden is labeled, so that indicating botanical or scientific name. So the label should contain information of that particular the scientific name or botanical name of that particular plant and its family name That means to which family it belongs, the particular plant belongs. So in botanical gardens, the living plants are grown for identification purpose and for botanical studies and also for the conservation of plant species. So botanical gardens are an example for ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation. See, ex situ conservation means it is the conservation of the plant species outside their natural habitat. So, here botanical gardens. So, in botanical gardens, the plants from different places, they are collected and they are grown and they are protected in that particular gardens, no. So, they are under the human care, no. So, they are an example for botanical gardens are an example for ex situ conservation of ex situ conservation strategies for plant species. Okay. So, it is an example, botanical gardens, example for ex situ conservation of plant species. Understood what are botanical gardens? So, in herbarium, dead plant specimens are preserved, but whereas in botanical gardens, the living plants are grown, okay, in a particular enclosed area of land, and each plant in that garden is labeled that carrying information about the botanical names or the scientific name of that particular plant and its a family name to which that particular to which family that particular plant belongs to. Okay. So, botanical gardens are an example for ex situ conservation. So, the famous botanical gardens include again the Royal Botanical Garden located at Kew in England, and one more is National Botanical Garden are located at Lucknow, and similarly one more is Indian Botanical Garden located in Auraha. Okay. So, these three are the Royal Botanical Garden, National Botanical Garden, Indian Botanical Garden are the famous some of the famous botanical gardens. Okay. So, this is about botanical gardens, and the another taxonomical aid is museums. Museums. So, what exactly a museum? So, it is a place, used for storing, preservation and exhibition of plant and animal. So, museum is a place used for storing, preservation and exhibition of plants and animal specimens. Okay. So, usually these museums are set up in educational institutions. So, you might have seen in your schools, the schools and colleges have the museums. So, where some important plants and animal specimens are kept for studies, and universities also maintain the museums in botany and zoology departments, right? So generally these museums are set up in educational institutions for study purpose. So usually the museum here is having a collection of, museums are having a collection of plants and they are having a collection of plants and animal specimens. So museums having a collection of the, so herbarium, plant specimen, botanical gardens, live plants are grown. In museums again the plants and animal specimens are preserved for reference. Preserved for reference. Okay. So here usually the plants and animal specimens are they are stored in a large containers or they are stored in a large glass jars. So by using preservative solution. So the generally used preservative is a formalin. So by using a formalin, the plant and animal specimens are stored in a large containers or in a glass jars. So plants and animal specimens they can also be preserved as dried specimens also. If the insects, so insects are first they are collected, they are killed, they are pinned and again they are mounted on insect boxes. So insects are mounted on insect boxes. Okay. So before they are mounted on in insect boxes. So they are collected, killed, and pinned. So the insects are collected, killed and pinned and then they are mounted in insect boxes. Then if the large animals like if you take reptiles, if they want to store birds or any other mammals, okay, they usually those large animals, no, so the large animals are stuffed, and they are preserved. And in some museums, so various museums, they also have collection of the skeleton of large animals. So you might have seen, so some museums also have a collection of the skeleton of large animals also. So this is what the museums. So in museums, what are they usually they are preserved? So they preserve the plants and animal specimens. Either they are stored in a preservative, okay, or they may be stored, either they may be preserved in by using preservative or they may be preserved as dry specimens also. Okay, so this is what the museum. So it also one of the important taxonomical aid. So so one such museum is National Museum of National Museum of National History. Sorry, National Museum of Natural History. Okay, so this is located at Delhi. So this is an one of the museum which is located at Delhi. So you'll come to know what are museums. So these are the places used for storing, preservation and exhibition of plants and animals. Understood? Okay. We'll move on to the next taxonomical aid, that is zoological parks. So zoological parks, you already know about this. So they are commonly called zoos. Okay. So zoological parks are the places where, so these are the places where wild animals, these are the places where wild animals are kept in a protected environment under human care. Zoological parks, they are commonly called zoos. These are the places where the wild animals are kept in a protected environment under the human care. So here they are meant for providing knowledge also and for recreation purpose also. They provide entertainment also. And the animals in a zoo, no, so they are given the same conditions as their natural habitat. And here the old animals, okay, which are going to be endangered in the future, okay, so those type of animals, so they are protected in the zoological parks along with under the human care. So these zoological parks, no, so helps one to observe the feeding habits, okay, by visiting the zoological parks one can study and learn the feeding habits of the animals and as well as the different behavior of different types of animals and also, okay. So they are meant for knowledge and also for entertainment. So zoological parks are the places where wild animals are kept in a protected environment under human care. So this is also zoological parks are also an example for ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation, because here the wild animals, no, so they are protected, okay, so they are protected, they are conserved, they are outside their natural habitat, because here the animals are conserved outside their natural habitat, no, so it's an example for ex situ conservation strategies for animal species, okay. So zoological parks an example for ex situ conservation, because the wild animals are preserved outside their natural habitat under the human care. So this is about the zoological parks. So we discussed the herbarium, where dead plant specimens are collected, botanical gardens, living plants are grown for reference, for identification and for conservation purpose and for botanical studies also, and museums, again in museums the plant and animal specimens are collected, and in zoological parks the wild animals are given protection, okay. So this is about the important taxonomical aids, and other taxonomical aids include So other taxonomical aids include key, flora, manuals, monographs and catalogs. So these are the other taxonomical aids which are useful in the identification of plants and animals. So let us discuss one by one. First I will take up the key. So it is also one of an important taxonomical aid. So key, it is nothing but a scheme for, a key is scheme for identification of plants. So it's a scheme for identification of plants and animals. What exactly is a key? It is a scheme for identification of plants, correct and exact, that is accurate identification of plants and animals. So usually a key contains an alternate set of characters. What it contains? So it contains an alternate set of characters. So these alternate set of characters, they are arranged in such a manner that one can identify the plants and animals accurately. So what does the key contain? So they are having, actually they contain an alternate set of characters. Okay. So these characters are arranged in such a way that one can identify the correct the correct and accurate plants and animals. They can identify the plants and animals correctly, accurately. So generally these keys, so they are based on contrasting characters. They are based on contrasting characters. Generally these contrasting characters are in pairs. These are called as couplet. So the contrasting keys are based on contrasting characters. So their contrasting characters are in pairs, called, it is what? Couplet. And each character in a couplet or each statement in a key is called as what? So generally it contains contrasting characters, the statements, and they are in pairs and they are called as what? Couplet. So each statement in a key, each statement in a key is called as lead. What it is called? Each statement in a key is called as lead. So here they are given the alternate set of characters, contrasting characters. So we have to choose, one has to choose the correct character. Okay. So by choosing the correct character, so one will arrive at the accurate identification of plants and animals by comparing with the already known organism. So that is what the key. So what actually the key? It's a scheme for identification of plants and animals. Okay. So by choosing the correct option, so by choosing the correct character, so one can arrive at a correct identification of plants and animals. So this plant belongs to this. Okay, this animal belongs to this phylum, this class, this order, this family and so on. Okay, so that is what a key. So I will give you the example. See, for example, it is mainly based on contrasting characters, right? So alternate the statements are given for identification. Say for example, I'll take a noto card. Okay, the noto card. Noto card. Present or absent? Noto card present. Noto card absent. So in the given animal, if the noto card is maybe present or absent, if it is absent, we have to choose the correct option. So noto the given animal, the noto card is absent. Noto card is not there. And exoskeleton. One more. I choose one more character. Exoskeleton. Exoskeleton. Present. Exoskeleton absent. So if that particular animal is having an exoskeleton, so we have to choose the correct character. Exoskeleton is present. And if the exoskeleton is present, if it is chitinous exoskeleton, it is chitinous exoskeleton or any other like calcareous exoskeleton. Okay. So if they are having a chitinous, if the given animal is having a chitinous exoskeleton that is made up of chitin, so we have to choose the correct option. So finally, we will arrive at a point that, so the given in the given animal that noto chord is not there, noto chord is absent, we can conclude that it is an invertebrate. So exoskeleton is present, okay, but what type of exoskeleton is present? Chitinous exoskeleton is present. So we can come to know that this particular animal belongs to the phylum Arthropoda. So one can, by choosing the correct character, by choosing the correct option, one can arrive at a correct identification of plants and animals. So like this, each statement in a key, so each statement in a key is called as a lead. Each statement in a key is called, it is a set of alternate characters, so that is generally in pairs, it is called as couplets. So each statement in a key, it is called as lead. This is one lead, this is another lead, this is one lead, like that. So each statement, each character in a couplet is called as lead. So that is what the key. So the keys are analytical in nature. The keys are, so by choosing the correct option, we will arrive at the correct identification, accurate identification. The keys are analytical, they are analytical in nature. And there are separate taxonomic keys are there for separate taxonomic categories, for genus, for family, for species, for class, order. So like that, there are separate taxonomic keys for separate taxonomical categories. Okay, so this is what the key. Understood? What is it? So it is just, it's also one of the taxonomical aid. It's just a scheme for identification of plants and animals. So by it's having a set of contrasting characters. So one has to choose the right character for the identification of plants and animals. So that is what key. Then another is the flora. It is also one of the taxonomical aid. So the flora contains information. So it contains information about the plants, contains information about the plants found in a, contains information about the plants found in a particular, it contains information about the plants found in a particular area. So actually it gives an account of habitat and contains, usually it gives information about the habitat, that means where that particular plants are living, the place of living, and also their distribution of plants, plants in a particular area. So actually it provides an index of the plant species found in a particular area. So that is what flora. So what flora contains actually? So it is also a taxonomical aid. So what it contains? It contains, it's like a book, it contains information about, what information it contains? It contains information about the plants which are found in a particular area. So actually it provides an index of plant species which are found in a particular area. So that is what a flora. And manuals. So what actually, so here the flora, it contains, it given account of, that is habitat and the distribution of plants. So whereas manuals, no, so the manuals contains a complete list, okay. So it contains a complete list and description, complete list and description of plant, list and description of plant species present in a, are found in a particular, or grown in a particular area. So what actually the manuals contains? The manuals contain a complete list and description of the plant species present or grown in a particular area, and it also contains useful information regarding, so it contains information for the identification of the names of species found in an area. So what actually the manuals contain? Manuals are the books which contain a complete list of all the, that means a complete list of all the plants along with their description which are present in those plants which are present in a particular area. So these are the manuals, the books which contain a complete list of plant species along with their description are found in a particular area, and it also provides information for the identification of the names of species which are found in that particular area. Okay, so this is what manuals. We will come to know what is flora and what is manual. Okay, then the next is monograph. Monograph. So monograph contain an information about, it contains information about any one taxon. So what actually the monograph contains? So the monograph includes information or detailed information about any one taxon. That means it contains an information about any one taxonomic category or a taxon. So that is what monograph. So monograph contain information about any one taxon or any one taxonomic category, like either genus or species or family, like that. They contain the description of or the detailed information of a particular any one taxon or a taxonomic category. So that is called as what? Monograph. Then what is catalog? So catalog. So catalog is an alphabetical arrangement of species, found or present in a given area or a particular area. So what are all the total species which are present in a particular area? So all those species are arranged in the alphabetical order. So that is what catalog. So catalog contains an alphabetical arrangement of, so list of alphabetical arrangement of the species found in a particular area. Okay. So all these are the taxonomical aids. So the very first is the herbarium, then botanical gardens, museums, then zoological parks, and other taxonomical aids include keys, flora, manuals, monographs and catalog. Have you understood all these taxonomical aids? Okay. So what are taxonomical aids? So these are the procedures or the techniques or the stored information which helps in the identification and the classification of organisms. So that include herbaria, botanical gardens, zoological parks, museum, keys, flora, manuals, monograph and catalog. Okay. So taxonomical aids are very important for board exam and also for NEET. Okay. So what are taxonomical aids? Explain any 4 taxonomical aids like that they will ask, or they will ask you to write a note on botanical gardens and herbarium, write a note on museum and zoological parks. So what are keys, what are monographs, what is catalog, like that they will ask. Okay. So this is what the taxonomical aids. So this completes the chapter, the living world. Okay. So in this chapter we discussed, so what are the important things we have, you have to concentrate here is the characteristic features of living organisms. So in the characteristic features, so what are all the defining features of living organisms that you have to remember, and after that we have discussed the diversity in the living organisms, and what is nomenclature, what is binomial nomenclature, who proposed binomial nomenclature, and very important thing is the rules of binomial nomenclature, what are tautonyms, okay, all these things, and how to write the scientific names. So everything you should remember. And after that, taxonomic categories, so they are very important. So there are 7 what are taxonomic categories, what is taxonomical hierarchy, and what are the 7 different taxa, okay, and how they are arranged from higher to lowest category and lowest to higher category. Writing of those 7 different taxa in a descending order and ascending order you have to learn. Okay. So they are placed they have to write in a particular order only, from highest to lowest or from lowest to highest. Okay. As we move on from lowest to highest category, the number of similar characteristic features will go on decreasing. Okay. All these things you have to remember, and examples of scientific names. Okay. And then taxonomical aids. Okay. So what are taxonomical aids and the different types of taxonomical aids have to remember. So this is all about the living world. So this chapter is completed. Hope you understood the chapter. Thank you so much.